Going to the opera is one of the most remarkable experiences there is. The richness of the decors, the quality of the performances, and the level everything is playing at makes it an experience that you will never forget. But the opera has many codes that can make it a little bit intimidating. So in this video, I'm going to share all of those codes with you so that you can confidently book your tickets for the next performance you want to see. The first very important thing to know is how to choose your tickets. Obviously, the better you see, the more you pay, and the less you see, the less you pay. The best placement is the one that is directly facing the stage, and that's what is the optimal one. So here at Palais Garnier, they call it Optima. This one, depending on the performance, is going to cost between 120 euros to 250 euros if it's a really famous performance, so a famous ballet, famous opera, or a famous director. Category 1 is slightly cheaper than Optima and offers great views. So honestly, for the difference it makes, you can save between 20 and 50 euros, so it can be interesting. With category 2, you start to need to bend a little bit to see the stage fully, but it's still quite comfortable, and those are still quite pricey. They are not all equal, in my opinion. For example, the ones that are very much at the front, so very close to the stage, you're not going to see much, and you're going to have to really go over the balcony to be able to see anything. The advantage is that those are quite private, and that's probably why they're category 2. And you will be able to see the orchestra from just above, which is pretty cool if that's something that you're into. But to see the performance, and especially with ballet, the placement of the dancers or the shapes that they try to make, it's not great. If you want to go with category 2, in my opinion, it's best to take the ones that are straight on. Anything too much on the sides starts being not so worth it. And as you can see, category 2 is still pretty expensive by European standards. We're still above the 100 euros for a seat for main operas or main ballets. Category 3 is interesting because you're still going to be able to have some good views, but you're going to be able to save a little bit if that's something that's important to you. The best ones, in my opinion, in category 3 are still obviously the ones that are facing the stage. Even though usually you're a bit far, so you're a few rows at the back, you still have, in my opinion, a better view than if you were from the sides. And then likewise, when being on the side, so here you're also not going to be front row, it's best to pick the ones that are still as centered as possible. For the difference in price you're going to have with a category 2. Because with category 3, you're always going to be under the threshold of the 100 euros. Category 4, if you're on a budget, to me is the best category because you're still going to be able to have access to seats that are facing the stage, even though you're going to be in what we call the poulailler, hen house, the place where you put the chicken. That's where poor people went in the past. It's not very spacious, and you see the stage from very much above, but you're still facing it, and I find personally that it has a bit of a cozy vibe, and you're still able to see the stage from straight on. If you don't know, the initial function of the opera and the reason why it's built as a horseshoe wasn't to enjoy the performance, it was to parade and show that you were there. So the most important seats, and you will see if you visit Palais Garnier or if you have already, the most ornate seats are the ones that are very close to the stage, because that's where the king, the dukes, and all the important people of the time would come and show that they were there. They were more important in a way than the performance. Likewise, in the past, people were not quiet when watching the performances, and the parterre, actually the part here just before the orchestra, was a place where people would stand and talk and hang out, basically. So it was very much a place of parade and not as much a place of art as it is today. That changed in the 19th century. Category 5 and category 6, in my opinion, are not really worth it unless it's the only thing that you can afford and you still want to be present and you still want to see that show. Once, I think I was all the way up there by the Stal, and you basically just like, you can guess. I remember most of the time just closing my eyes to listen to the music because I couldn't really see anything. Category 5 and category 6 are going to be very affordable. So here you can see 25 euros, 10 euros, whereas category 4 here you can see we're at 50 euros max. So it still makes it worth it. So once you have ordered your tickets, you can choose to have them delivered to your house if you want the paper ticket. They used to be very pretty. They are a bit more contemporary now, so depending on what you prefer, you might choose to just have them on your phone. If you have them on your phone, make sure you screenshot them before entering. That's going to be faster, and also because old buildings for some reason block waves very well, it's also going to enable you to not have any network problems. In terms of arrival time, it depends if you want to have time to stroll and to flâner, to look around, to take your time, maybe have a glass of champagne when you arrive. So if that's what you want to do, I recommend arriving 1 hour to 45 minutes before, so you really have time to queue for security, to queue for the drink, to really see around, and then to find your spot without having to rush anywhere, go to the bathroom, da 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 da. If you want to go straight to your seat, then 20 minutes, 30 minutes is way enough to do all the queues. If you have a big coat and because the seats are quite narrow, you want to put it in the clock room, then also plan time for that because there can be quite long queues. Something that I like a lot about the opera is that when it's time for you to start going to your seat, they have a little bell that starts ringing, and in modern operas you have like a little sound or something. But at Palais Garnier you have the traditional bell, and the bell is basically indicating that it is time to finish your drink, finish your conversation, and start moving to your seat. Most people usually wait for the last minute to do that, so the ushers start getting a bit nervous and they're pushing people inside. So it's nicer if when the clock starts ringing, you can be part of the polite people who move to their seat first. And if you're really too late, you might be denied access because the ushers are going to actually lock the access to not disturb everybody else. As I said, it's quite narrow. So to access your seat, usually you need to have a whole row of people stand up, and we obviously want to avoid that when the performance is starting. So in that case, you would have to wait until the intermission to be able to enter. Now, in terms of dress code, and I'm getting to it. Contrary to what most people are thinking, there is no specific dress code to go to the opera. The only thing is that you shouldn't show up in your sweatpants and your Uggs or flip-flops. The main direction is just to show respect for the place and the other people that are here. French people can mock a little bit non-French people because usually tourists or expats will put on the full glam to go to the opera. From a French perspective, it's a bit over the top. The French prefer when it's classy but stylish. So you can see here how people were dressed. There were people who were dressed very casually, some people that were dressed a little chic but not too much, and some people that had the full glam on, and indeed, usually they were not French. The thing to give to the non-French people is that they are closer in the way they dress and the way they show up at the opera in relation to how it was done in the past, because in the past, especially in the 19th century, you were then going to the opera to see the performance, but you were also there to show your wealth and all your furs and your silk. At the end of the day, what matters is that you dress in a way that makes you happy and makes that experience magical for you. If that means full glam, glitters, do it, especially at Palais Garnier, which is a touristic place. People understand that other people dress up. If you want to do it the French way, what French people usually do is that they're going to use one code of the opera. So for example, black, velvet, pearls, feathers, and they're going to use that as one part of their outfit, but the rest is going to be a little casual. So that's what I did with my outfit that night. I took a little top that you've seen probably before that shines and has a bit of that black Rococo Chanel kind of vibe, but I paired it with barrel jeans. And on the more practical side, avoid bangles or jewelry that makes a lot of noise. Plan for a little pullover or a little something that you could cover up with. I had my scarf. And a pro tip is to avoid putting on a lot of perfume because it can really be inconveniencing people next to you. So if your perfume makes you feel amazing, then it's great to just shit one time, walk through it, and trust that the right amount is going to be perceived by the right amount of people. In terms of behavior inside the auditorium, so it's very okay to ask people to stand up or to say excuse me, and for people to stand up so you can reach your seat, obviously. You're expected to not talk too loud because there is a lot of echo and a lot of people, and we're supposed to show that we're mindful of others. Usually at the opera you're going to be with rather refined people. So it's great not to be the ones that are cackling around. Always remember to put your phone on silent and not only vibrate because it can still be heard.
So as not to disturb the performance, we kindly ask you to switch off all mobile phones and remind you that it is strictly forbidden to film or take photographs. Thank you.
It's going to disturb not only the audience but also the performers, and performers are not doing an easy job, so it's great if they can stay as focused as possible. The only time where you're allowed to take pictures is when everybody is bowing, coming from the big salutation, however you say that in English, and people are clapping and the lights are on, and then it's perfectly acceptable and it's not spoiling the performance to people outside. So when you see people on social media posting the performance, then they're doing something that is actually illegal and unethical. Applause cues can be a little bit tricky, especially if you are watching a concert. You're not supposed to clap in the middle of an area. Sometimes you might feel that the orchestra is done or the singer of the opera is done, whereas they're actually just taking a break before starting again. That's the thing that gives away that you don't know the opera or the music piece. You just have a break and you hear, and it's a little awkward, and it's not a huge deal obviously, but it's nice for everybody if it stays quiet. And so the best way, obviously, to know when to clap is to spot the older people in the audience, which is how I do it, because you know that usually they've seen it a couple of times, they've had time to listen to it, so they know when to clap. And for those claps that are not the end claps, you're not supposed to go like, whoa! You're supposed to have a polite clap. You're like, that's great, yay, yay. But not to go completely crazy. You're supposed to hold that until the end. Intermissions. Usually when the show is more than 2 hours, there's going to be at least one intermission. And for long operas or ballets that are between 3 and 4 hours, you usually have 2. And so just like for clapping, there might be some dramatic pauses where maybe the curtain closes and you hear some shuffling. That's also something I've seen where everything goes dark, curtain closes, and then people start standing up, whereas actually the show was continuing. So before leaving for the intermission, make sure that the lights are on. So here you will have a challenge. You're supposed to, move gracefully into the foyer, but the intermissions are usually quite short, and you might want to go to the restroom, get a drink or a glass of something, and stroll to enjoy the beautiful place that you are in. And so all of this in 20 minutes with the cues can be a little bit challenging. My pro tips are first to go as gracefully and elegantly as you can to the bar and to order whatever it is that you would like to have. They're usually quite fast at serving, but there can be quite long queues. Once you have your drink, then I really encourage you to enjoy the place. So that's where you can do your promenade and go to the different rooms. If there's a room you shouldn't go to, it's going to be clearly marked as such. So just enjoy. You're supposed to go around and walk around. If you are coming with people, that's a great time to talk about how much you liked or didn't like the performance. And the thing that is magical at Palais Garnier is obviously this grand foyer that is absolutely exceptional, and that has two little rooms on which side, the room of the sun and the room of the moon, that are circular rooms. And it's just a magical place, and you can go everywhere with your drink in your hand. So don't be shy, enjoy, and that's also part of the tickets that you paid. In the last 5 minutes, then go to the bathroom. Usually there is a bit less queue at that moment, and before the end of the bell, and get back to your seats so you don't disturb anybody. So unfortunately, you'll have to have your eye a bit on the clock if you want to do these 3 things. But it works very well. And then if you want to be a bit more strategic and you have 2 intermissions, then maybe one intermission is for a restroom break and another one for a drink, however you want things to be. If you hate the performance, which unfortunately can happen, it has happened to me, some people will allow themselves to show their unhappiness by standing up and leaving. Usually not like, oh, it's bad, but just by standing up and leaving. And just the fact that they are doing that, everybody notices, it disturbs the other people that are sitting on the same row, so it shows. I have been at plays that were, I agree, so bad that a lot of people actually started leaving. It's very awkward, but it's also a very interesting social experiment. So you can decide to be part of those people if that aligns with your values. Alternatively, what you can do is to leave during the intermission, which is something I've done as well. If you're really not enjoying yourself and you think that you would be better off somewhere else, well, you can absolutely decide to do that. If you want to take pictures of yourself inside of either the auditorium, either the opera in general, that's perfectly acceptable. Be a good human and do it respectfully of others. As you can see, we were able to film and we were as discreet and respectful as possible, and everything went absolutely fine. When the performance is over, you're going to be able to clap as much as you want for the artists, and usually you can do a couple of recalls. I assume that's not the case only in the opera. And then there is going to be a moment where the applaud kind of dies out and you're going to be able to exit. A rude behavior would be to leave as soon as you see that it is over, and some people do that, it's very annoying and disrespectful. As soon as the curtain goes down, they go like, they hurry, they grab all their things and then they exit because they don't want to have to queue. Please don't be that person. It's very disrespectful for the people who will take the time to queue and for the artists who have more than deserved a big round of applause. So to exit, it's going to take a little time because everybody is exiting at the same time, but it's also a moment, like it's your last moment to enjoy the beauty of the place. So that's what I usually do. And if you want to take a couple more pictures, you can also do that. It looks really good on Instagram. You're going to be expected to exit the opera building. You don't have to rush out, but you're not expected to hang around. So you're not expected to stay for another drink. You're not expected to roam around the rooms for too long. You can obviously take one last walk and enjoy the place, but if you want to continue your evening, you should continue it in another place. And if you have the opportunity, I really recommend, especially if you are at Palais Garnier or in another beautiful opera house, to then have a drink somewhere nearby. Usually the cafes around those places are very beautiful, and it's a great way to continue the experience of the opera night. So I hope this was interesting and what you were expecting. If there are questions I haven't answered, please let me know in the comments and I will answer in the comments. And I really hope, if you haven't already, that you will get the opportunity to visit Paris and the Palais Garnier, which is, without kidding, my favorite building in the whole world. I'm not really able to explain why, but it's a place that I adore, that I find grandiose. And if you can do the whole guided tour when you visit Paris, you're going to learn tremendously and you're going to be able to access rooms that you can't access during the shows. So that's a plus. And you're going to learn a lot of crispy anecdotes, juicy anecdotes. They're crispy in French, about the place and how it was built and why the ceiling is the way it is. Really a wonderful experience, and I can only encourage you to do that when you come visit Paris. So thank you so much. I hope you're having a great time here inside the Cercle Mademoiselle, and I am going to go prepare the other videos for you guys. À bientôt!